Hello world, Liu here, and this is part 16 of the Python from 0 to 1 series. Today, we'll be talking about nested loops, which simply mean a loop within another loop. So here, we can use either for loops or while loops, but for simplicity's sake, let's just deal with for loops first. So here, let's start by writing a normal for loop. So for I in range 5, and I'm going to print I. And so if I do this, I'm simply going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now in my print function, I'm going to add the n keyword is equals to a string space. And so if I do this, notice that my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are now next to each other. However, what if I want this line to actually happen 3 times? So I can put this entire thing inside another larger for loop. So here, I'm going to hit tab, and here I'm going to write another for loop. So for j in range 3, and I'm going to run this for loop 3 times. So if I run this currently, I'm going to have a whole bunch of messy numbers because there is no new line here. So here, I'm going to print. So here, this will automatically insert a new line for us, and notice that this belongs to this for loop because of the indentation. So if I run this again, I'm going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 3 times. The numbers that are generated here are actually generated from our inner for loop. However, the fact that this entire thing happens 3 times is generated from our outer for loop. And another thing that you might have noticed is that I use different iterator variables for both for loops. And this is important because I do not want to confuse myself. So once again, for j in range 3, and this entire thing belongs to my outer for loop over here. And here we have for I in range 5, and only those that are indented one level above this belong to this mini for loop over here. This print actually only happens once per iteration in our outer for loop. So here, let's say I change this to a 1 to 11 so that this generates the numbers from 1 to 10. And let's print this. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will happen 3 times because of our outer for loop over here. So if I change this 3 to a 5, this will happen 5 times. So next, let's comment this. For I in range, let's print 1 to 4. So we generate the numbers 1 to 3. And for j, which is a different iterator variable, in range, let's say 11 to 14. And we print I and j. So let's run this and see how long our output is. So here we have 111, 112, 113. So this happens in the first iteration of our outer for loop. And next, this happens in our second iteration of our for loop. And this happens in the third iteration of our for loop. So here, let's actually break this down. So we have our outer for loop, and we have our inner for loop. So our outer for loop, which is range 1, 4, will generate numbers 1, 2, 3. And our inner for loop, which is range 11 to 14, will generate the numbers 11, 12, and 13. So when I is equals to 1, j is equals to 11, then j is equals to 12, and then j is equals to 13. And when I is equals to 2, this repeats itself once again. And when I is equals to 3, this repeats itself once more. And that is why we have 111, 112, 113, and then 211, 212, 213, 311, 312, and then 313. So another thing to note is that we can actually have 3 or more nested for loops. So for example, for I in range, let's say 1 to 3, for j in range, let's say 3 to 5, and for k in range, let's say 5 to 7. So here, I'm just going to print I, j, k. And if I run this, I'm going to get 135, 136, 145, 146, 235, 236, 245, and 246. So actually, let's break this down. So here, outer for loop, we have our inner for loop, and we have our inner for loop. So here, the numbers 1 and 2 are generated, and for our inner for loop, 3 and 4 are generated, and for our inner for loop, we have 5 and 6. So here, I is equals to 1, and when I is equals to 1, all of this will happen one time. So when I is equals to 1, j is equals to 3, and j is equals to 4. And similarly, if I equals to 2, j is equals to 3, and j is equals to 4. However, for each iteration of j, this inner for loop will happen once. So here, k is equals to 5, and k is equals to 6. And here, k is equals to 5, and k is equals to 6. And similarly, k is equals to 5, k equals to 6, and k is equals to 5, and k is equals to 6. So here, 1, 3, 5 will be printed, followed by 1, 3, 6. And after this, we have 1, 4, 5, and here we have 1, 4, 6. Here we have 2, 3, 5, and here we have 2, 3, 6. And here we have 2, 4, 5, and here we have 2, 4, 6. And that is why these numbers are printed in this sense. So here we can go even further, and let's say for L in range 7 to 9, and we indent this once again. So RJKL, and if we print this, we will get 1357, 1358, 1367, and so on. So here, notice that every for loop will have an additional level of indent. So all in all, you can have as many nested loops as you want, but it is a good practice to keep it to around a maximum of 3, or else your code can get pretty hard to read. So thanks for watching, and hopefully this was clear and easy to understand. See you in the next one.